Hi, welcome to a little bonus episode. It's Finnegan Fridays. I caught up with Christian around noon on Friday, and I wanted to put this out before I went out and partied and didn't get a chance to. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to share it with you now. I had a great conversation with Christian. He's always the best. Great friend, great comedian, great cultural commentator, super original. We talked about that. Creativity, originality, why it matters, what I like about Christian. Also a little bit about Christmas music, and as well as just what the hell is happening in the world. As always, Christian Finnegan, so good, and you should subscribe to his Substack at newmusicforolds.substack.com. And if you're finding yourself generous and you want to send a couple bucks his way for joining us, send him $2 or $5 or $10. It's always really nice when I hear that people sending money for joining me, because I can't do this show without my great guests. Very few of them do I ever ask for you to send money to, but Christian is a regular contributor, and I always love having him joining me. So if you want to, you can find his Venmo in the show notes, or just look him up on Venmo. If it asks the last four digits of his phone number, it's 1814. If you want to buy him a coffee, send him a couple bucks. Christian-Finnegan-1. 1814. All right. Always hilarious. Go get his album. Go watch everything he's ever done. And I love when he joins me here. Let's do it. Christian Finnegan. All right. There he is. It is Finnegan Fridays. Christian Finnegan joining us from hell. Good to have you. I'm glad you got a good internet connection at least. Doesn't sound like hell's that bad.
Yeah, I mean, that people, one of the underrated things about hell is solid Wi-Fi. Solid. They got the T5 or whatever, the T1, whatever. It's T something. It's
I think that's the T stands for something regarding the universe that you're now in. It's, terrifying. Hellscape. Why the hellscape? Everything okay? Is that your insides? Is that your mind?
Oh, everything's fine. It's just, I still am, this apartment is still completely not decorated, and we still have boxes of work because we're having the kitchen and bathroom renovated in January, and so there's really no point in doing a lot yet. And so I'm surrounded by kitchen appliances that are still in their boxes, and so I had a green screen, and so I decided to just put it up on the wall and give it.
Why did you go with hell? A city hellscape.
Who knows how the muse works, Pete?
Oh, all right.
I was just moved. I'm sure. I could just say as simple as
look around.
Yeah,
look around the world. I think everything is fine. I don't know why.
I don't want to be the guy who just leans into the miserableness of it all, like the doomer, whatnot. It is within my nature to do that,
right?
And so but it's also within my nature to not want to be a hack. And so those things are at odds with each other, is because I feel like being a doomer is hack right now.
Great.
Yeah.
You have such like a concern over being unoriginal.
It is definitely the thing that has held me back the most of my life.
It's held you back. You think my brother,
100%.
My brother has I see you guys are very similar that way. He is just so detests. It's such a horrible concept to him to be unoriginal.
But the problem is that
it's why I'm successful.
Yeah. I mean, because you just lean into it. You're like, I am a basic bitch, and people respect
Henley.
that about you. Yeah. No, the problem with me is that I end up going so far into my navel that I don't even know how I feel about things anymore. Because it's like, well, I don't want to be hacked, but it's like, it's hack to not want to be hack. And so that I end up back at the first thing. It's like, so it's like kind of an MC Escher thing. It just sort of levels on levels of me analyzing things.
I understand how I guess that could hold you back, but I also think it's the reason certainly why I've always been a fan of your comedy, and more recently now, always a fan of your comedy, your commentary. And I think part of that is because I think that's part of why people like you. You have a kind of an original take on a lot of different things that's either slightly or very different. And it's often counterintuitive, sometimes surprising when we're talking about any number of things. So I think it's a wonderful quality in a person, certainly in a guest, when we're talking about the issues.
Thank you. But sometimes, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, is that sometimes I fall into the trap of thinking, if I have an opinion on something, it can't be the most nuanced opinion because, like, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And so sometimes I will not cultivate an opinion on something too strongly, and then someone else basically comes up with the thing that I thought, and then is like hugely successful.
Yeah,
with it.
You should,
or you'll finally say something that you felt weird, or that you felt was kind of too basic to say, and then people are like, "Oh, I never thought that before." You're like, really?
I've never struggled with that, and I'm not being self-deprecating. I don't care what anybody says. I think if you know me pretty well, I don't strike people as a generally original person when it comes to creativity, when it comes to any number of things. I don't have a lot of original thoughts, and my strength and success has been in finding people like you who do, and being able to convince them to answer my questions, and I'm fine with that. I do lean into that because I'm a conformist to a certain extent. I'm a normie to a certain extent, and it just doesn't bother me that much. Unlike my brother, unlike you, and so many other people who I really admire, and who I'm close friends with a lot of people like that, because I'm attracted to that because I'm not that. How's that?
I don't know. I think that you are maybe not giving yourself enough credit. I think that your gifts, are that you know how you feel about things, and you're able to articulate them, and mostly extemporaneously. You know, that you have a strong core. You have a very strong foundation in terms of your beliefs, and I admire that. And I think that honestly, this is something that makes a good radio guy, or podcast guy, or like a good broadcaster, is being able to. I think this is why Howard Stern was so successful. Is it's not like Howard Stern had like incredibly deep insights or anything, but he knew how he felt about something immediately, and he was able to launch into talking about it extemporaneously. Whereas some people, like myself or whatever, can sometimes get lost in the sauce a little bit about overanalyzing. Do I really feel this way, or to what extent? Kind of lost in nuance, I think.
I don't think we're really talking quite about the same thing here. Originality of thought and creativity is what I'm talking about with you, and you're always that guy, and you give us that take, I think. And you said some very thoughtful things about me, but that was more about like my character or my ability to express myself. And those are different categories, and I'm proud of those.
I disagree. I think.
Well, I don't think it's original to be, to have a kind of emotional intelligence and understanding about ego and just theory or philosophy that allows you to, settle into. In this case,
no, but I don't think you're chasing public opinion.
Oh, I am.
Wisdom or anything. Oh my God, that was terrifying. That was T for terrifying.
I really leaned into the camera. If you're listening, really upset him. Yeah, he's definitely thrown.
It was a lot. It was a lot of no's all of a sudden. No, I think that you're not somebody who I think is sort of has your finger in the wind and just sort of picking up on whatever the current opinion is. But I think you have a strong foundation of knowing what your beliefs are and what your values are. And I think that comes through.
Oh, I appreciate it. And I think I do, but I don't think that.
Should we stop jacking each other off now?
No, it's more of a philosophical conversation now, which is, my foundation or whatever I believe those are unoriginal. It's unoriginal. Like my mentors and teachers and people I read are names everybody knows, and some people you don't, but all crafted and molded in a similar.
You don't fall into that trap of being like, foundry. Everyone thinks something, so I have to take the opposite perspective.
I never do that.
Which is more, honestly, as tedious, if not more, than being a quote unquote hack. It's like you see so many people like, what sucks? Pizza. It's like, no, it doesn't. Shut up. Stop. Yeah. Like you're trying to be interesting. Stop it.
Yeah. I know plenty of people like that. I'm unattracted to that. It strikes me as a little bit pick me. The contrarian stuff, and it's just
the internet feeds into that attitude too. Sure. It's like, I am a discourse starter.
There's a bunch of things I want to ask you about. Speaking of which, getting your take on, and since you do write the Substack newsletter, New Music for Olds, which everybody should subscribe to, and
everyone should
pay for a subscription and support you for joining me here. And it's Christmas-ish. Well, it is. It's December. I mean. Come on.
It's the Christmas season. We're officially in the Christmas season.
We're officially in. I don't think anybody's denying that. And I just wanted to just get your general theory on Christmas music. Obviously, every genre of music has great artists and songs, right? Every genre?
Yeah. I don't know if I consider Christmas music a genre. I mean, I guess it is.
I'm already off. Holiday music.
No. I don't think you're wrong. I mean, it's probably the right word for it, but it's I guess it is.
It has to have, I believe it has to have bells. Isn't that the rule?
I think there are certain chords. I remember watching a YouTube video once, and I don't remember who did it, but talking about why the Mariah Carey song, All I Want for Christmas Is You, why it has sort of become a modern classic. And it sort of broke it down as there are certain chords, and I'm not as versed in music theory enough to sort of name them. There are certain note combinations that we've developed a sense in our brains that are Christmas chords. You know, certain musical language that hits our brain as Christmas.
Yeah, for sure. I can see that.
And that song has them in spades. Whereas some other song, like I don't think just playing the music you always play and putting the word reindeer in there qualifies something as good Christmas music. And I think, honestly, I think it's also what music was coming out, what Christmas music was coming out when you were 9 is what becomes classic. I mean, I think that's why Last Christmas by Wham is now sort of in the canon.
But also, it would seem, I'm way out of my depth here, but I will ask one more question about Christmas music, which it would seem that the old classic, the originals never go away, and they're always popular, and we like them for a few weeks a year, every year. Is that a fair thing to say? And is Baby It's Cold Outside, is there a rape that takes place? Are we going to talk about that or not anymore?
Yeah, it's that is something that I used to do a bit about, and then I saw like 4 other comments.
Oh, really?
About it, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not so original.
I still want it.
But, no, it is definitely rapey, and it is creepy and really indefensible.
Is it indefensible? Would you say that that song is indefensible?
I mean, people defend it, but there's no way to go through those lyrics. It's sort of like when you watch a stand-up from the 80s, or when honestly, there's bits of mine that I listen to. I've been going through old material of mine recently, and some of the stuff I'm like, why did I think that was okay?
Oh, really?
Why? Yeah, I mean, not premise-wise, but just certain words or certain punchlines or, tags.
You used to say the N-word a lot when your first album.
I mean, that was my thing. It's like, oh, Finnegan, he's the N-word comic.
Well, after the Chappelle show, you really felt like you had a lot more credibility on race.
I was invited to the barbecue, as they say. I was then asked to leave the barbecue, but I did spend a good 10
Did you
years.
get recognized? Did you get recognized when at the height of that sketch or any other time more by black folks or white folks?
That sketch crossed everything. That sketch kind of, that sketch.
Because black people are more likely to actually say hello to a person in public than white people. I know that for a fact.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Like if they recognize you for something, it's yo, there's no kind of like, excuse me, sir. Man, for a minute,
I had it for just a taste.
There's nothing aggressive about it. It's just kind of like,
it's wonderful.
I
like it. I like that.
I mean, honestly, Are We There Yet? I was on that show. Are We There Yet?
Right.
For a while.
That was a pretty black audience.
It's a black show. It's aimed at a black audience and black families specifically. And so for a while I would get like black 11-year-olds.
That's awesome.
One time I went to a party at a friend of mine's house in like, not quite Harlem, more like Hamilton Heights, but like in that area. And it was the first time that really a lot of people recognized me from that show because nobody I knew watched Are We There Yet? And so it was almost like for my people and my community, my circle of friends, it was almost like I'd taken a catering gig for a year and a half. Like nobody knew what the hell I was doing.
Yeah. No, that's true.
But up there in Harlem, like it was just like families like, oh my God, we love that show. Great. It was like, oh, right. Like people watch the show. It's just not my friends.
All right. Anything else about Christmas music? Do you want to suggest anything? Are you doing a special newsletter on it?
I have in the past. I have to see if I have anything interesting to say about Christmas music that I haven't already said. Rather, I could just republish what I wrote before. I did do a breakdown the first year I was doing the newsletter of like the best Christmas songs, in my opinion, of the modern canon, of the not chestnuts roasting on open fire, like not Jingle Bells, like sort of 1970 on.
Okay.
I still love the Kinks, Father Christmas. By
the way, you're probably
a great one.
You probably find this somehow wrong, but if you've done a past newsletter, like nothing wrong with bringing it back and recycling it this year.
I know it's really dumb.
You should do it.
I have a weird thing about that I think that people are going to be like, you already wrote that, and nobody gives a shit.
They don't. Add something. Add like 5 sentences or any little thing, or don't. Because no, they don't. They don't. Why would they give a shit?
I did as a test a few newsletters ago. I rewrote but it was probably 70% the same. Something that I'd published as a subscribers only newsletter. And I was kind of curious to be like, will anybody bust me on this? And like, nobody did. Nobody cares. Like nobody remembers, people. I mean, I literally wake up every morning and delete 30 unread newsletters.
Yep. All right. Bunch of things I wanted to talk with you about from the week and what's happening in the world, of course. And I think that this news about Netflix buying Warner Brothers is a huge story. And it's just kind of broken. And so we're not really that read in on it. It's not a done deal. And apparently the other bidders, Comcast and Paramount, are going to lobby the Trump administration to prevent this deal from going through. So just to be clear about that.
It's all so pathetic. I mean, I was reading an article about it. Like one person who hasn't weighed in is Donald Trump. It's like, why the fuck? Just this, we're going to get out of it eventually. And I'll be curious to see what happens when he enters the next realm. But this idea now that like everything that happens in the government has to have his imprimatur, like has to have his stamp of approval.
He's our king.
It's so weird. It's very bizarre. And I think a lot of people who were kind of watching it were very concerned about Paramount winning just because they CBS and obviously CNN falls under the Warner Brothers Discovery thing. And so I think a lot of people, and I myself included, when I saw the news that Netflix was theoretically going to win the bidding war, I was like, oh, great, sigh of relief. Two things to that. One, Netflix isn't keeping Discovery. They want HBO and HBO Max in the studio, Warner Brothers movie studio.
Right. They
don't want CNN. They don't want any of that crap. So that's all going to get spun off, and it'll probably end up at Paramount anyway, which is very depressing. And I think that it's going to be basically the end of CNN as any sort of, in the way that CBS News is quickly becoming a joke and an afterthought. I think CNN, if it goes to Paramount, will go the same way. But then it's like, we've been forced into these horrible choices over the past few years of having to root for the guy who's just going to murder you. Like, as opposed to a guy who's going to murder you and your family. Do you know what I
mean? These mergers and acquisitions and consolidations of entire industries. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's degrees of awful and and it will be a monopoly, and it will be bad for the arts. It will be bad for movie and TV industry. There's no way around that. But because it's not the very worst, because it's not that weird Ellison Putterman looking dude.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the Puttermans?
No, but
remember those battery ads from the 80s and 90s of those weird families with like the fake plastic faces? That's what he and his douchebag chin dimple son.
Hey.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you're close to the Ellison family.
No, I'm just deeply offended by any anti-dimple.
I have a knee-jerk reaction to anyone with a negative reaction to anyone with a chin dimple, whether it's Tom Brady or John Travolta. John Travolta was a little bit grandfathered in because
I have a pretty deep chin dimple.
Do you?
Yeah, I sure do. Yeah, I sure do. Yeah, I'll find a picture and share it later. And then you can take your best shot.
It's been a long time since I've seen you without a beard, so I can't even picture it.
Well, you saw me with her. But
I did make a joke once. Let me tell you about a joke I once made, Pete. It was like a current events, like they gave you topics and you had like 10 minutes to write material, and it was something about Tom Brady. He was retiring or whatever, and I made some joke about how hard it was to get supermodel pussy juice out of your chin dimple. It just pulls up in there and it just congeals and.
I wasn't ready. Trying to find out.
How you know I'm drinking Mountain Dew, because the liquid is affected by the green screen, so it's like see-through. Diet Mountain Dew.
A lot of good points about this potential merger, but it also means that Netflix would own HBO. That's what they want as well. I guess that's a pretty valuable property. And it would also mean that Real Time with Bill Maher and John Oliver shows would likely be less affected by a tyrant, although I think they've got a lot less juice and momentum, much less ambition to go after high profile shows.
I mean, would it change Bill Maher's perspective even one iota at this point? I mean, he's leaned so far into I want to be like, when I was talking about people who adopt a position just because the people they don't like have it, or they or what they perceive to be the hack position. So they have to just assume like that I hate pizza type vibe. Yep. That's what Bill Maher's whole vibe has become. And to the extent that he's like the Glenn Greenwald of like, he's so anti-Trump that he's pro-Trump. And so would Bill Maher change it all? I actually think that if Bill Maher was with the Ellisons in one of those right-wing networks, they would honestly love to be able to say, like, see, we even have a liberal. Sure, he basically agrees with everything we say, but he's a liberal. He's a Democrat. Right. So I don't know that he'd be affected, but John Oliver would be fucked.
Yeah. All right. So that's the big merger news. Netflix buying Warner Brothers. I mean, I will say, and maybe some of this is just silly, but it's like, I have HBO on such a pedestal in my brain. Mm-hmm. I think every network has clunkers, not every show is brilliant, but I think HBO's hit rate is substantially better than pretty much any other cable network or streamer over the past 30 to 40 years. And so, and not that Netflix doesn't put out some great shows. Some of the shows are great, but there is a slightly chintzy vibe to Netflix in comparison to HBO. And so I don't know, it does feel a little bit like, when you see a beautiful woman and you're like, why is she going out with that fucking guy? That's sort of how I feel about like HBO and Netflix. It's like, that's how people always feel whenever I'm next to a woman, even if they're not with me in any way, even if I'm just walking by them.
Why is she standing next to that guy on the subway platform?
Get that a lot. He's a gargoyle. What does it mean for the consumer, do you think? Isn't it pretty cool if you're a Netflix member and you have access to that library? Doesn't it make them, is it not good for the entertainment industry, for creators, for producers, for writers? Netflix is
I think in general, it's always bad when there's fewer options, when there's fewer.
There's always just been so many movie studios. Netflix is just a movie studio, isn't it? But there's fewer than ever before or is there more? I mean, are there more projects to be working on for less money than there used to be, which was fewer projects, but you'd make a lot of money. I mean, I don't really fully understand the ins and outs of the current status of the entertainment industry, much less the movie studios, but it does seem to be ever changing. But from the consumer to the people who work in the industry, I'm not sure what it means for your options, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say.
I guess I don't know either. I guess it depends on whether they plan on keeping HBO as a separate entity or trying to fold it all into an HBO Netflix kind of mothership. I saw one of the articles I read said that there might be some deal where if you get Netflix and HBO, that it's cheaper than getting them individually, which I guess will be pitched as a consumer friendly policy. But I don't know that there is any consumer friendly policy that's not forced upon private business. I think that left to its own devices, companies will always end up, especially under this regime and, the corporatization of entertainment and industry in general, that it will always end up being bad for the consumer in the end. There'll be a time where they'll be like, oh my God, it's that same get them into the tent quality, Uber, all these things that are sort of free at first or cheap at first. And then they get you dependent on them. And then all of a sudden they jack up the price.
Right.
And so I feel like the more competition, the better, and all the people who talk about the marketplace and the market, it's like, but then you support the market really being the choice between McDonald's or Burger King. Like that's it. You really only bring it to like 3 or 4 choices, but I'm out of my depth here, to be perfect.
No, it's news is just broke. I'm interested to hear what you think about it, and we're about to learn a lot more. And it's, again, not finalized. Let me ask you to get into a little bit of conversation about morality and philosophy to some extent around these. I want to get your take on these assassinations on the high seas. You have been paying close attention to politics and news and what's going on in this country since certainly 9/11 and after, and living in New York and the global war on terror and the Bush administration. Then you get the Obama administration and the drones. People like us on the left that were pretty appalled by that, especially when it's an American citizen, much less anybody else. We're more likely to support traditional law enforcement techniques whenever possible, investigations and so on, bringing people to justice, habeas corpus and the like. But man, that also means that we remember the torture debate and how people fell down on different sides of that. Of course, that was about, people believe in a hypothetical that if there were an imminent attack, could you torture someone to get into actionable intelligence? But that was always a stretch. This not so much. This is about,
at least with that, at least in the 2000s and, Abu Ghraib and stuff like that, at least there was actual terrorism. You know what I mean? Like, at least there was, regardless, obviously Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11 or whatever, but at least there was in theory an inciting incident that would at least make overreaction understandable, if not justifiable.
I guess the answer to that is you're making me work a little bit here, but like in Abu Ghraib, we never should have been there, Iraq, all that. But we arrested, however we did, it was probably not great, those, quote, detainees. We held them. We tortured them, probably beat them, interrogated the shit out of them. I'm sure the conditions weren't great, those where they were at Abu Ghraib or anywhere else. But there was a process in place, and they were accused of a crime, and they had some rights. They were fed. Some of them,
or at least there was the idea that they had to keep the shit secret. You know what I mean? That there was. I think we all.
But in this case, they're just killing people without knowing if they necessarily have drugs on their boats or who they are, it would seem. And if they do know, then they should show everybody. It shouldn't be a big deal. Show us the drugs, show us their names, show us how you knew, prove that you knew those people were bad. And even then, it's still not okay because they're fucking unarmed.
It's none of it's about any. I mean, we have to get it out of our heads. We can't let them set the agenda to say that they're doing things for the reasons that they're doing them.
Fair enough.
That they say they're doing them. This is all 100% about a meme. It's about creating a meme. It's about creating an idea of like, we're tough.
Kill them all.
You want to know how we're tough? You want to know how you know we're tough? Look at us killing people. And it's literally just bloodlust in sort of to feed the content mill. And then everything else is working back from that to create a justification. Well, who can we kill? Who can we kill that people won't complain about? Drug dealers. Fentanyl. People hate fentanyl. Little pet peeve. I hate when people say fentanyl. It's not spelled fentanyl. It's spelled fentanyl. But that's just a me thing.
I get outraged too at that. Fuck.
Stupid. But they work backwards from like, what can we do to create memes of us killing people? And literally, I don't think it's more complicated than that. Like, we want to show how brutal. We want to show gloves off. How do we show the world gloves off? Because that is our slogan. Our whole reason for being is gloves off. We do what the fuck we want. Try and stop us. So who can we do that people will get behind us? Drug dealers. Well, where are the drug dealers? And then it works back from that way because Trump just wants the meme. And the problem, I mean, there's 1,000 problems with that. The problem with when you don't actually have any policy goals or sort of philosophical goals to fulfill, when it's literally just about creating content, you allow all the people who do have agendas to sort of fill in those gaps. Marco Rubio has been wanting to go into Venezuela for his entire political career. And so, this idea that Marco Rubio is some principled person I hope that's
right.
done.
No, he's a Cuban American and he's got a real thing against Venezuela.
And so, like, I don't think that fucking Donald Trump gives two shits about Maduro or fentanyl or any of that shit. It's just he cares about looking strong and looking brutal and looking like.
Well, he doesn't care because the other story this week was that he pardoned this former Honduran president who imported drugs and had a guy chopped up and was brought to justice by the Department of Justice, including Trump administration officials, prosecuted him. It was a big win. And then, by the way, just got to add this while I'm still talking, he pardoned this guy, lets him go while he's killing these low-level guys who just might happen to have boats. They might just be guys with boats, by the way, that not only they make their money shipping drugs, but shipping other things, fishing, taking people water skiing. I don't know. Bottom line is also commend community sentence of a white collar criminal named David Gentile, I think his name is, who defrauded 10,000 people, vulnerable people, took their savings, took them for a ride. He was prosecuted not easy to do. And he was in jail for like 5 years. Trump just let him go. Both those commutations or pardons, whichever they are such outrageous, huge headlines. And everybody, even MAGA, especially MAGA, anybody should be pissed about that. And he's not even given a reason for it.
If you believe that MAGA is angry for the reasons they say they're angry, if you believe that they have coherent and...
If you're against drugs and being shipped...
They're not.
How dare
they
you?
don't give a fuck about... That's not true. I mean, people whose relatives have overdosed and things like... I'm not saying that there's not genuine pain in surrounding, but in terms of what they want the government to do, they don't want people doing drugs. But I don't think they give... Donald Trump does not want to stop the drug trade. He wants control of the drug trade. He wants... And he doesn't want to stop corruption. He wants corruption to fall in line under him. That's why, that's one of the things he loves about Putin is because the Russian post-Soviet governmental structure is a mafia structure. Is I am the Don, no pun intended, and everybody under me can do whatever the fuck they want, be as criminal as they want, as long as they kick up. And that is the model that he is trying to enforce here. And that's why he rewards criminality. Because first of all, those people then become beholden to him. And he inures us to criminality in general.
Yes.
That nothing's prosecutable. Nothing's, criminals. There's no justice. There's no right. There's no wrong. It's just power. Who has power and who doesn't. And, so this idea that like the MAGA people like legitimately care about ending the drug trade in Venezuela or any other country, it's literally just the vehicle to achieve the aims they want to achieve, which is we want to look like Putin.
Really well said. He does not care about any type of crime. He cares about whether or not that criminal is loyal or subservient to him.
He would prefer a criminal to a non-criminal.
Oh, for sure. They all would.
Because they've shown
they're attracted to each other.
Donald Trump, he loves criminals and he loves people who break, who he can break morally.
He doesn't like people who
go back on their principles.
He doesn't like people who get captured.
Yeah.
He doesn't like people who get arrested. You're a sucker. If you get caught, you're a sucker. You're not strong. You're not smart. You couldn't figure out how to work the system. You got caught.
And that's why they love him. I think I've said this before, but like I've always been of the opinion that MAGA writ large, loves Trump because he's the conservative Ferris Bueller. Like he's the guy who gets away with it, and they want to get away with it. I want to get away with it in my life. I'm sick of having people tell me what I can and can't do. So it's like this guy who does whatever the fuck he wants and suffers no fucking consequences. That's a heroic figure to me because I want to get away with it. I don't want people telling me what I can and can't do. I want to be able to do what the fuck I want to people. And I want my sort of will to power to be more important than any sort of moral framework.
Really well said. One last thing I want to ask you about from the regime that came out this week that was so upsetting that it just knocked me off this week. I didn't even do the show 2 days ago, and it was partly because this, wasn't entirely because this, but when he went after the Somali people and what he said about them and their community, which, by the way, is all as a result of the fact that 80 Somalian Americans apparently in Minneapolis defrauded COVID loans or something. Like they stole money from the government. And it's like, just to be clear, that's not an ethnic thing. To a certain extent, like you work with your friends to commit a crime. But if that were the case, then Italians be in big trouble if that's how you wanted to decide on ethnically who's more
and
likely
also it's like how do you
commit an organized crime.
I'm not justifying any crime ring of any sort. It's like, how do you think ethnic groups gain foothold in America traditionally? If you trace any group of people back far enough, not even group of people, any wealthy, connected people, if you go back far enough, you will find criminals because that's how you acquire power and influence. The classic example is Joe Kennedy being a moonshiner, or a prohibition booze runner during prohibition. If that's how you're a criminal, or the Michael Corleone, the Vito Corleone, it's like, you're a criminal so that your sons and daughters, but mostly sons, can be sort of criminals, and then their kids can be legitimate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like, that's how you acquire power in America, is by being a criminal. And then hopefully 2 generations down, then your children are senators and cultural icons.
That's a very original way of looking at it. But what he said and what it means, it was so deeply upsetting, at least in the first term that he was in office, he said the shithole country stuff behind the scenes and it leaked. Now it's like a lot of other things, total hoods off.
And we've become totally numb to it, and me too. I will admit it. It's worked. When I saw all that stuff, it was disgusting and made me depressed and made me angry, but it wasn't like, I didn't look around and be like, when's someone going to do something about this? Because the answer is, it's nobody. I do think that there will be electoral consequences eventually. Probably not for him particularly, but I do think that the Democrats will take the House next year. And although a year is a long time, and it worries me that I do worry that the sort of idea that Trump is weak and the Democrats are going to have a blue wave, I worry that narrative is too early. In that the media, just because of who they are, there will be a cycle where they'll be like, oh, Trump's come back and maybe the Democrats won't do well, like that will start to take hold. We'll see.
Today, apparently, I'm just seeing this in the chat from Benny, who I rely on, but fact check it. He's good for it. Today, the president canceled free admission at national parks on MLK Day and Juneteenth and added free admission on his birthday.
Like, what do you even say about that? Like, what do you even...
He literally replaced MLK Day with him.
This is going to get dumber and dumber. It's going to get blunter and less nuanced, if it can. And it's literally going to... and I'm sure you saw that he put his name on the Institute of Peace. It's now called the Donald J. Trump Institute.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Had his name put up. Well, no, it is going to get dumber and dumber, but Nick Fuentes took credit for this turn back towards hardcore racism. He thought somehow maybe Trump or his administration, they were going soft, but he now took credit. He's like, now he's going to give me credit, but this is because of what the pressure he's feeling from me. And
wait, is he wrong? I don't
think
know.
so. No, I don't think so. I think that it plays well, but I heard Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and he would know about the economy. And I've heard others say that nasally economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, 2020.
That smarmy worm, that smirk he always has on his face. It's so
nice. He seems like a nice guy. He and Bessent and others are saying 2026 is going to be the economy is going to be really great. But everybody I'm talking to and hearing and every indicator I'm seeing is saying the opposite. And the truth is the consequences I feel are going to be for the midterm elections, not about a lot of this really horrific behavior choices, cuts, decisions, the health, getting rid of vaccines. It's going to be, the price of food at the grocery store, energy, and the rest. And it doesn't look good.
That will hopefully, you're already starting to see some Republicans peel off because they're starting to not necessarily peel off, but create space in certain areas because they, it's like, all right, I'll kiss the ring if you're like kicking ass in polls and stuff, but I'm not kissing the ring of a guy who's getting 36% approval. It's like, I've got a job too. Like I have a family that I'm trying to feed and I'm not going to, I think that, and that's where you're seeing a lot, like in Indiana, the pushback from some Republicans against redistricting. It's like, dude, like, okay, maybe you think you can gain a couple seats, but you're making all of us more vulnerable by doing this. And the Texas thing that came out yesterday, the Supreme Court, I assume
Texas redistricting, whether or not they're allowed to gerrymander the hell out of it.
Even though they very specifically made it racial, but whatever. I maybe think Democrats are, or pundits are getting ahead of themselves thinking that, it's going to totally backfire on Republicans, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible if the wave is big enough and things are bad enough, like maybe that gerrymandering thing will come back to bite them. Small, we have to hope for the things we can hope for at this point.
Christian Finnegan, always great to talk to you. Love getting your take on everything. Everyone should follow Christian on Blue Sky, on Instagram, subscribe to his Substack at New Music for Olds.
Can I say one thing?
No, I'm not done. newmusicforolds.substack.com, and his new one-man show, Can I Say One Thing Real Quick, is also
Yes, that's a big one. The 18th through 20th of December, I will be at the DC Improv.
Ooh, look at you. Great club.
It is a great club, although I will say I will be playing the Lounge, which is the smaller room for comedians who are just too funny for larger crowds.
Oh, that's why you're in the Lounge.
They're like, oh, we can't. It's just dangerous. It's like a fire code thing. When you're as funny as I am.
Yeah.
And as well beloved and popular as I am, they don't feel safe putting you in the larger rooms. It's just a fire exit thing. And so they're having me in the Lounge where my incendiary comedy will be safer for the public at large. But DCimprov.com, I would super love it if people would come. I
will promote the hell out of that. Maybe I'll even come. Bill Boyle is watching right now, and he said we should go and we can get him to buy us dinner. Oh. Okay. Bill, I think you should buy us dinner, Bill.
Hope you guys like Potbelly Sandwich Works.
And we do. Thank you, my friend. Really appreciate it very much. And thanks for watching live, everybody. And bye-bye. Thank you. Happy Friday. Happy Supermoon. Bye-bye. All right. There you go. Christian Finnegan. Send him a couple bucks on the old Venmo, Christian-Finnegan-1. 1814 the digits if it asks you for it. Get his new album and go subscribe to his Substack. newmusicforolds.substack.com. If you like and listen to music, you will love that. That's all I've got for you. Hope you like the Finnegan Friday little bonus, and I hope you're enjoying your weekend. Thanks so much for supporting me. Patreon.com/Pete Dominic, and I will talk to you later. When you're tired of begging, saying pretty please, that's the time you gotta finally get up off your knees. When you can't see the forest for the burning trees, you got to stand up. Hey, you've been sitting so long, you got the creaky knees, you got to stand up. Stand up. I think you're driving wheels with leaking grease. Boy, you better stand up. Stand up. Well, there's a whole lot more of us who know us right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You got to stand up. That's right. You got to rise up. You got to stand up. You got to stare the devil straight in the eye. We got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear and all you hear is a lie. So get up off of your butt, get down off of your fence. And even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Boy, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. Alright, we got to speak up, we got to reach up, and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up, stand up. Got to stand up. Ooh, come on, just stand up. Everybody got to stand up.
I'm on stage.